Hello, everyone. We are joined with 29 PGA Tour winner and two-time Canadian Open winner Rory McIlroy. Rory just finished your program, was able to see the front nine of TPC Toronto. What's your initial thoughts of this new course we've added?
Yeah, it's I don't know if you can call any course a typical TPC setup, but that's sort of what it's like. A little bit of room off the tee. Fairways are quite generous, but if you miss them, the rough is pretty penal. And then the greens are, they're tricky, undulating. Really got to hit it into the right sections. I think it could be a good test by the end of the week. If there's no rain and it firms up a little bit and they can tuck the pins away. I think you're gonna, there's certainly going to be some birdies, but it's a long course for a par 70. There's some chances out there, but for the most part, it's going to be a decent test. So yeah, as you said, I saw the front nine today. Won't really get a chance to see the back nine, but Harry's been here the last couple of days and walked around, so hopefully he can point me in the right direction for the back nine tomorrow, and then we'll go from there.
We'll open up to media. Same as always, please raise your hand and we'll get a microphone over to you. We're going to start up here in the front with Adam.
Hey, Rory, welcome back.
Thank you.
You obviously mean a lot to this tournament. I'm just curious what this tournament means to you.
It means a lot. I think I haven't, I guess, hidden my sort of aspirations for national opens and sort of where I would like them to be. What their standing is in the professional game of golf. So this is meant a lot. Like I first came here in 2019. Once the date changed after, it used to be that week after the Open Championship, which wasn't ideal for a lot of players. And I honestly love this. I love the date change. I love that it's the week leading into the U.S. Open. I told this story a little bit, but before playing in this event, 2016, 2017, 2018, I missed 3 cuts in a row at the U.S. Open. And since playing the Canadian Open the week before, I've had 6 top 10s in a row. So there's something to that. But then obviously playing in front of the Canadian fans and everything that goes along with that and the enthusiasm and, you guys only get to see this sort of golf once a year. So I think once it does come along, it's really appreciated. And then I think that atmosphere is really appreciated by the players that get to play in front of those fans.
25 years ago, Tiger Woods completed the Grand Slam, comes here, wins the Canadian Open. Obviously, you've completed the Grand Slam, come here, back at the Canadian Open. Congratulations, obviously, first and foremost. I'm just curious, what these days are you chasing? Are you chasing Tiger? Are you chasing records? Or are you chasing just joy in your everyday life? How would you describe what you're chasing these days?
Yeah, I don't know if I'm chasing anything. I would certainly say that the last few weeks, I've had a couple of weeks off, and going and grinding on the range for 3 or 4 hours every day is, maybe a little tougher than it used to be. Just, you have this event in your life that you've worked towards, and it happens. Sometimes it's hard to find the motivation to get back on the horse and go again. So. I think the last 2 weeks have been good for me just as a reset, just to sort of figure out where I'm at in my own head, what I want to do, where I want to play, and reset some goals. I thought it was a good time to reset some goals. I've had a pretty good first half of the season, and I want to have a good second half of the season now too.
And John.
Hey, Rory, welcome back. We know that you're a real student of the history of this sport. What would it mean to you to win this trophy for a 3rd time and enter even more elite company?
Yeah. Look, anytime you start to rack up multiple wins at in places, especially with a trophy like the Canadian Open and the names that are on that trophy, there's not many that are on it 3 times. So yeah, it would be very cool. I'd love to get myself in the mix at the weekend and have an opportunity to do that. It would be the perfect way to sort of end the week, and with one eye going towards the U.S. Open, it'd be a great way to go in there.
Moving over to the right side, we have John Post Media.
This tournament always seems to have a good European field. Do you think that's a timing thing, or is there a certain draw to coming to Canada during the spring or summer that's predominantly in the U.S. on the PGA Tour?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think a lot of the European guys like to play the week before a major. I think there's that part of it. And yeah, I mean, look, we play so much in the States anyway, and yeah, you come here, it feels a little different, but you're not that far away. I think when the tournament has been a little closer to the city and we've been able to stay in Toronto, and it feels a little more, I won't say European, but cosmopolitan and maybe different from what we do week in, week out. But I think for the most part, it's just, it's become a very, very good tournament. And I think because of that, and you see guys playing each and every year, I think the field then starts to become stronger because, you see your peers do something, and, we're all like sort of sheep out here. Like once one person does something, we all sort of try to do the same thing. So I think it's, I just think this tournament has grown from strength to strength over these last few years, and that's a lot to do with Golf Canada and RBC and everyone behind it, and they should be really proud of what they've built.
And going back to the PGA for 1 second, considering all the good vibes you sort of brought into that after the Masters, it was a little surprising when you didn't speak after any of your rounds. A few weeks removed, can you sort of let us know maybe what was up with that? Was it performance related? Was it something else? And more broadly, where do you think the level of responsibility is, or perhaps should be, for players to speak to the media after rounds?
Look, the PGA was a bit of a weird week. I didn't play well. I didn't play well the first day, so I wanted to go practice, so that was fine. Second day, we finished late. I wanted to go back and see Poppy before she went to bed. The driver news broke. I didn't really want to speak on that. Saturday, I was supposed to tee off at 8:20 in the morning. I didn't tee off until almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Another late finish. Was just tired, wanted to go home. And then Sunday, I just wanted to get on the plane and go back to Florida. So, and also like the driver stuff, I was a little pissed off because I knew that Scotty's driver had failed on Monday, but my name was the one that was leaked. It was supposed to stay confidential. 2 members of the media were the ones that leaked it. So why, I didn't want to get up there and say something that I regretted either, because there's a lot of people that I'm trying to protect Scotty. I don't want to mention his name. I'm trying to protect TaylorMade. I'm trying to protect the USGA, PGA of America, myself. So I just didn't want to get up there and say something that I regretted at the time. And with Scotty's stuff, like that's not my information to share. I knew that had happened, but that's not on me to share that. And I felt that process is supposed to be kept confidential, and it wasn't for whatever reason. And that's why I was pretty annoyed at that. And then from a responsibility standpoint, look, I understand, but if we all wanted to, we could all bypass you guys, and we could just go on this, and we could go on social media, and we could talk about our round and do it our own way. We understand that that's not ideal for you guys, and there's a bigger dynamic at play here. And I talk to you guys, and I talk to the media a lot. I think there should be an understanding that this is a two-way street, and as much as we need to speak to you guys, we're sort of we understand the benefit that comes from you being here and giving us the platform and everything else. So I understand that, but again, I've been beating this drum for a long time. Like if they want to make it mandatory, that's fine, but in our rules it says that it's not, and until the day that's maybe written into the regulations, you're gonna have guys skip from time to time, and that's well within our rights.
We have time for taking a few more. We have Michael Callahan, Irish Examiner, Kevin Price, and we'll move over to the left.
Rory, just over here, mate. You've spoken about kind of the amount that you put yourself out there during the live stuff. I just wonder, did that experience kind of come to mind when you made that conscious decision to step back from the mics in Quail Hollow? You have kind of gone through that and kind of know what it's like to throw yourself out there. Was that part of the decision too, to take the step back?
No, not at all. Like I haven't been, like, I've skipped my fair share of media requests over the years, so it's not as if, it was nothing to do with that. It was just some days you don't feel like talking.
And Rory, you're playing with Luke Clanton these next couple of days. He had 4 top 10s as an amateur last year, kind of unprecedented. What would you say about the impressive nature of what he did, how hard that is to do as a college player, and if you've met him at all and what you look forward to about playing with him now that he starts his PGA Tour career?
Yeah, I haven't really met him, or I certainly haven't played with him. So I'm looking forward to that over the next 2 days. It seems like a lot of these college kids are coming out just ready. You look at over the past few years, Ludwig, for example, Michael Thorbjornsen, obviously Luke. I think this PGA Tour U program is so good. If it was up to me, I'd give the college kids 5 or 10 spots on tour instead of just 1. I think to bring that new blood through each and every year, I think is so important for the tour. And to see Luke and some of his other peers take advantage of that opportunity and get their cards and come out here and play well, it's awesome to see. And that's the future of the tour. And that's, I love that PGA Tour U program, and it's great that it's working in the way it was intended to work.
And you mentioned at the players in your post-rounder about the importance of reframing negative thoughts into positive thoughts. And I was wondering if you could, I love that statement, if you could elaborate on how that kind of helps you as you're going along, and why it's important to stay positive out there, particularly with all the pressures.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, I think for me, if anyone knows my father, he's the most positive person in the world. He could find a silver lining at a funeral, probably. So it's the way I was brought up. It's what it's how I perform my best. It's, and I think just try and see the good in everything. Sometimes when you're out on the golf course, it's hard to do that when you're making bogeys and not hitting it the way you want to, but it's a lot better than being stuck in an office. So there's a lot of ways to see the positives out there.
We're going to take final one. Rick Young here on the left.
Welcome back. Can you quantify just what it meant to change from TP5X to TP5 at Augusta National and win the Masters?
Yeah, I would say, looking back on it, I'm trying to think of some of the pivotal shots that I hit. Maybe the 2 shots into 15 at the weekend. I don't think the TP5X stops on the green the way the TP5 did. Those two holes. The 8-iron on 17 on Sunday. I don't think a TP5X stops as quick as what the TP5 did there. And it also has enabled me to. It's forced me almost to hit a lot more of these partial 3/4 shots because it does spin more. And because even on firm greens, like the greens got at Augusta on Sunday, it's still, with those 3/4 shots, I can still put enough spin on it to stop. Where the TP5X, you start to take speed off, and the ball would, for me anyway, it would start to knuckle a little bit, and it would start to chase, and instead of the ball running out 3 or 4 yards, it would run out 9 or 10 yards. So that makes a big difference. So it's certainly, I think, for the toughest tests, especially the major championships, Oakmont next week, for example, using a softer, spinnier golf ball, I think it's been a good find for me, and it's certainly helped this year.
Perfect. That's all the questions we have. As always, thank you, Rory, for the time.
Thank you.